All right, Entree Architect community. It's 4 p.m. Eastern, which means it's time for the Entree Architect Context and Clarity live conversation for Thursday, June 9th, 2022. As you get here, say hi. Let us know that you're here and let us know where you're joining the conversation from, both your location and the social media platform that you're on. We're streaming out all over the internet. This is our attempt to break the internet. We're glad that you're here. Let us know that you're here. It's fun to see where everybody is and see who's along the ride for this conversation. If we've never met before, my name's Jeff. I'm in Indianapolis. I come here every weekday afternoon at 4 p.m. Eastern for one reason, so that we can find clarity around the things that matter most to you, the architect. It doesn't matter if you are the employee of a firm or you own your own firm. Maybe you've circled a date on the calendar and you've said 2022 is my year and you're on the runway to starting your own thing. Or maybe you have owned your own firm for a year or 10 years or, I don't know, 23 years. And you're starting to rethink or reimagine what that firm could or maybe even should be. All of the topics that we cover, one topic every day, they all fall under the broad umbrella of the business of architecture, and they're all the need to know topics for the success of small firm architects just like you. So thanks for joining me today. As you're looking at the screen right now, you might go, hey, this is a different look. Usually, Katharine MacPhail is my co-host. She's off doing some important things today, taking care of some things. So Mandy Freeland has graciously stepped in. She's been here before, by the way. I don't know if you know. If you remember which episode that Mandy Freeland co-hosted with me, put that in the chat right now or in the comments right now, wherever you are. Let me know what episode, who the guest was when Mandy Freeland last co-hosted with me. While you're thinking about that and probably Googling and whatever. Hi, Mandy. How are you?
Hi, I am doing well. It's actually pretty hot here, and I thought Scott was being funny. I know it's hot in California, and so Scott says that mercury is rising in San Francisco. It is getting hot.
Well, for all of you people out in California that are sweating, you should come to the Midwest. We have a rare, beautiful day here in Indianapolis and across the Midwest. So you've got some options. You don't have to bake out there. I see Scott's comment, which is the first one in on my screen, which means that Scott is the winner of today's John Kenny Memorial Crocheted Bathtub Award. We give that out every single day for the person who makes it into the room first. So congratulations, Scott. I think that's like 6 days in a row. Scott has won that Crocheted Bathtub Award. We also typically give away two other awards. One is the award for the person who has virtually traveled the furthest, because we do have a global audience here. I like to say from Anaheim to Australia. Um, I'll keep an eye out for Audrey, because if Audrey makes it in from Australia, she trumps everybody. Essentially, it's pretty hard to get further away from Indianapolis than Sydney. So she might win the Crocheted Yacht Award for furthest virtually traveled. And then we have an award for the largest. How do we say that? The largest constituency, the largest group of people from one location. There's always some hot debate as to how to divide that up. Does California count as one place, or is it, do you have to? There's Mandy's leading the charge for the hot folks in California, but that's our crocheted coffee carafe award. And if you're new to context and clarity, don't ask me about the crocheted stuff. I know where the crocheted bathtub comes from, and I guess it just kind of rolled downhill. The ball of yarn rolled downhill from there, I guess. Let's see. Scott is joining us from San Francisco. He's on LinkedIn. Jefferson from LA. So there's a trend here. California is coming in on LinkedIn. Chris is in Massachusetts on Facebook. And David Delvecchio. Hi, David. Over on YouTube from Cranford, New Jersey. That carries some meaning today. You'll find out why here in a couple of minutes. Liz Sloan, welcome back from Charlottesville. Rod is on the sofa in Monroe, Louisiana. I bet it's hot down in Monroe. That's just my guess. Jake Flitton says it rained all day in East Aurora, New York. He thinks he has a leaky window in the home office. That's not a good thing. You should call an architect. Maybe they can help you figure it out. And Emily, welcome back from Fort Wayne, Indiana. Glad you're joining us. Chucktown Sean is in the house. Glad you're here, Sean, as well. See lots of Facebook here, some YouTube. Liz was on YouTube too, some LinkedIn. I don't see any Twitter right now or Twitch. I'm sure we'll have people logging in from those places. But if you happen to be on Facebook right now and you're commenting away, you're saying, hey, I'm here. I want Jeff to say my name out loud and talk about where I'm from. But for some reason, it's just not showing up on the screen. That is because you are in a private Facebook group. Facebook has these rules that say in private groups they can't let your name or your image, any of those things out unless you give them permission. So if you would like your comments to show up on the screen like others, like Christian over in Ithaca, New York, he's on Facebook as well, go, there's a URL in the bottom left-hand corner right now. Hey, there's this new feature. I've got a new toy. Sorry, I've got to do this. Scrolling across the bottom of your screen right now. If your comments aren't showing up, type chat.restream.io/FB like Facebook in your browser. With a couple clicks, you'll give Facebook permission to talk to Restream, which is this platform that we're using here, and that will solve all of your problems. Every single problem you have in this entire world will be solved by typing chat.restream.io/FB. Mandy's kind of chuckling. I don't think she believes that all the problems.
I was laughing at John Jones.
Oh, okay. So maybe she does believe you. What's John up to? He says, oh, wait a minute. It scrolled. I've got to find him. Where is he?
Mike
John
M
Jones
is out of green M&Ms.
Well, there's a green M&M shortage. For those of you that are not aware, I see Megan from South Dakota. Hi, Megan. That's a little foreshadowing there because Megan is going to be a Context and Clarity Live guest. I don't remember, maybe 4 weeks from now, something like that. And also a speaker at the Entree Architect annual meeting in Austin, Texas at the beginning of November. So hi, Megan. Glad you're joining us today. What we do for all of our guests, all of our esteemed Context and Clarity Live guests, is we stock the green room with green M&Ms. And some guests eat more green M&Ms than others do, and sometimes those green M&Ms are hard to come by. But we'll have to find out from our guests how that's going back there with those M&Ms. They're not brown. We're not. Is it Van Halen? Is that the M&M story? I think. But we'll find out about the green M&Ms here in just a minute. Brian McCartney is joining us today from beautiful Ohio, also on YouTube. Hi, Brian. Glad you're joining us today as well. All right.
Hey, I don't know if you saw, but Barry snuck in, and I think he might be the furthest so far.
That's a good catch. Barry Reed on an evening walk from Scotland. Good day. Good evening to you, sir. Glad you're joining us, and that does put you in the lead for the Crocheted Yacht Award. Good catch there. Glad Barry is joining us today. What else? What else have I forgotten, Mandy? It's your job to keep me on track.
I know. Welcome, everyone. Everyone's telling us where they're from, and there's a few M&M comments. Yeah. And how warm it is or how cold it is. Rod Werner, I don't understand Celsius, but I know you're just trying to be funny.
What did he say? It's 92 Celsius or something?
33.
Boiling? Oh, 33. Okay. Well, you say that out loud to somebody in the Midwest. That sounds like okay weather. That sounds like winter to us. wrong measurement, wrong scale, but that's what it feels like.
Oh, Nicole beat me. She's 110 degrees in Arizona.
Yeah, but it's dry heat. It's dry heat. Don't worry. You still lead for the humid heat over there in California. All right, let's jump into it here. We've got a great guest. We have a returning guest, actually, which is a thrill to have. This is only the second time that someone has returned to Context and Clarity Live, so we're honored to be able to welcome this guest back. They are on a mission to eradicate entrepreneurial poverty. And according to Simon Sinek, I have not verified this, but according to Simon Sinek, he's the top contender for the patron saint of entrepreneurs. He's a keynote speaker, and I think that his superpower, this is my own opinion, maybe he can dispute this, maybe somebody else can weigh in here, but I think that his superpower is distilling complex problems down to their very essence and then building simple systems to solve those problems. That superpower is exhibited in the writing of his 7 or 8 or 9, or maybe it's 15 now. I'm not sure. We're going to have to verify that. All of these impactful business books that he has, I recommend every single one of them. They include Profit First, Fix This Next, and now Get Different. Mike Michalowicz, welcome back to
Jeff,
Context and
thank
Clarity
you.
Live.
Thank you so much. And Mandy, thanks for having me back. I'll give you guys the shortcut for translating Celsius into Fahrenheit. You double
All
the
right.
Celsius number. So I think Rod says 33, and you add 32 because that equates. So it would be 66 plus 32, which would be 98. So it's not exactly right, but it's around 98 Fahrenheit. So that's the quick.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's the simple system.
Yeah. Double that 32.
Thanks, Mike.
You're welcome. Yeah. It's been a pleasure being with you guys today. I wish you wonderful success. Good luck.
Peace out.
I need to write that down, my little cheat sheet. Post it.
There you go.
Yeah. Who would have thought that the mic drop moment was converting Celsius to Fahrenheit? Yep. That's excellent. Well, Mike, welcome back. Thanks for joining us again. We really appreciate you being here.
Pleasure.
I really do think that that's your superpower. I haven't read all of your books. I've read 4, or I haven't read. Let me be honest. I haven't read any of your books. I've listened to 4 or 5 of your books. We were talking about this earlier. I don't even know what the symbols are anymore. I don't read. I listen to books. But that's my takeaway from everyone that I have listened to is, hey, you've taken this idea, profit first, or a bunch of ideas, fix this next, and boil it down to the essence, and then built it back up with just simple systems. And as I was listening to, I've got to stop saying reading. As I was listening to Get Different, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing. Oh my gosh, this guy understands marketing, understands how to break it down to a level that even a 5-year-old can understand, and then explain how to do this thing in an effective way.
Can I say thank you for saying
please.
that? Because that is my mission, or promise is probably the better choice of words, to my community. And the tagline we use is entrepreneurship simplified, which you were kind enough to share my mission, which is to eradicate entrepreneurial poverty. There's a huge swath of small businesses that we go into business to become profitable, to not worry about bills, have financial freedom. And it's the number one thing that doesn't happen. So my commitment is to resolve that. And the method to resolving it is by codifying ideas in a way that we can, it's highly consumable, it's highly actionable. And it's a lot of it's based upon the Pareto principle, also the 80-20 rule, the same thing, different names. But what's the fewest things we can do that have the greatest impact in that category? That's why I try to do my book. So it's a big compliment for you to say what you said. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, no, I appreciate what you're doing here. And I think, again, you're over the course of your books, you've covered different topics. And now with this latest Get Different, you're talking about marketing. And I built my career. I see others. Brian McCartney's built his career on helping architects and other professionals market. And I remember as I was listening to Get Different, one of the things you said early in the book, or you talked about, was the responsibility to market. And that hit me hard, because I think about the people that I don't like marketing. I don't want to market. I don't like putting myself out there, all those things. But can you talk about why we have a responsibility to market?
Yeah. And I think it's very easy to measure. If you have clients refer business to you, they are validating through their action, which is one of the riskiest actions to take. They are offering to an established friendship or acquaintance a new relationship for them that maybe a service to them, or maybe not. And if it's a bad introduction, it compromises their relationship. So there's a lot of social currency going on here. But if a client is referring you business, they believe in you so much, they're actually carrying the marketing responsibility in their back. I was at a conference recently for photographers, and I said, by a show of hands, it was a big conference. There was there was about 5,000 people in the room. And so just by a show of hands, who feels they are better than the competition here in some capacity, not every way. You care more, you do higher quality work and so forth. And I would say 99% of the hands went up. To the 1% that didn't raise their hand, I said, you better find your differentiation and how you're better. Because if you're not better, why should anyone buy from you? But for the other 99%, I unequivocally agree they are better because they're doing something that they care about and they're finding their specialty, their special capability. And I said, if you're better than the competition, yet the competition is more noticeable, that's of disservice to your clients. If the architectural work you do is superior to the big brand name architectural firms or the local competitor down the street, if you're better, gosh, you have a responsibility to market accordingly, to be noticed. Because listen, if a customer is going to buy architectural services, they're going to buy the service. But if they can't find you, they're going to find someone of lesser value. So that is the client's problem, but it's your fault because you didn't make yourself noticeable. I really want to arm people with I was going to say vitriol or energy, or maybe it's even channeled anger, but like, damn it, this is a responsibility. This is not something like, oh, if we have enough cash to do it. It doesn't necessarily require cash at all. Honestly, the less you spend, the more innovative you can become. Probably no cash is better. And it's not something that we can delay or only when we want to grow, or we'll just do what everyone else is doing. No, you have to find a way to become noticeable. And this is something that doesn't wait. I strongly believe we are in the precipice of a recession. I think the indicators that I'm looking at shows maybe a pretty deep recession. We have inflation going on, and it may hit hyperinflation, which would be super risky. We see interest rates going up, housing collapse, but also there's other indicators too. And what's going to happen, unfortunately, I think, is many small businesses will say, we're in a recession. I've lost some clients, and golly, it's hard to get clients. But we got to realize this, that I think across the board, if there was an average, let's say 10% of us, all of us are going to lose 10% of our client base. So if I have 100 active clients, I lose 10%, that's 10 clients. But if the big box business down the street has, say, 10,000 clients, they lose 10%, that's 1,000 clients. Now, here's what's interesting. Most small businesses, most architects I know, respond by saying, oh my gosh, I lost 10 clients. What can I do to claw them back? And I'm saying, listen, don't worry about them as much as the 1,000 that are entering the stream. Because some clients use a recession as an excuse. They say, I was never really satisfied with this prior provider, but I didn't really know how to end the relationship. We're in a recession. I need to cut costs. That's an easy call to make. And now I'm entering the market, but I'm entering with open eyes. I want to purchase. And maybe that's only 20% of them that feel that way, and the rest are just delaying. But they only have 20% active clients. So now out of the 1,000 entering the market, again, 20% are in active buying mode. If I'm worrying about losing 10, that's the mistake. I should be focused on gaining the 200. I think as small business, we have a right to choose if we're going to participate in a recession or not. And our marketing, how we behave around marketing, is going to determine our success in navigating it.
And I think, I think when we are in those situations, again, there are a lot of architects out there. And architects could, they could say, well, it's tough, but there's a lot of attorneys out there. There's a lot of accountants out there. There are a lot of pizza joints out there, et cetera. So when I used this example this morning, we were in Clubhouse this morning, kind of previewing this talk. And I said, look, if you go to an AIA, American Institute of Architects, if you go to a conference and bunch of architects in the room, and somebody snuck in, right? A non-architect snuck in, and they walked in the room. And they said, "Hey, I need to hire an architect. What do you do now?" Right? Who in the room is an architect? Well, everybody raised their hand. So what do you do now? That's one of the reasons I think this book is so applicable for architects, because you're talking about that. You mentioned better and different. And that's really what you're talking about through the whole book is if you're in a room full of architects or in a environment, where you're competing with architects, you've got to differentiate yourself in some way.
Yeah. And, it starts off with who is the community you're marketing to. This is the classic definition of an avatar. Is there an ideal customer? And what if that person walks in and says, I need an architect, and everyone's like, I can serve you, but you look at that customer and they're at the center for, the Brooklyn Nets, and they're 7'7" in height. They may have unique requirements for the design of their home over quote unquote standard or generic customer. And the architect who has engineered or designed homes to cater to that community now has a leg up. But we got to be able to speak the language. And so the architect says, it looks like you're a basketball player. And actually, I've worked with other basketball players, and I realize there's special needs, particularly in regards to design of the kitchen and the layout, the bathrooms, and the bedrooms. And if those three things aren't nailed, it becomes an uncomfortable situation. So we can cater to this. And every other architect's like, I'll make your vision come a reality. And that consumer knows, you're a newbie. Here's what I'll equate it to. Imagine one of us listening in right now and I wish this upon no one, but one of us had a heart attack or something. And you get rushed to the hospital, and the emergency room says you need cardiovascular surgery immediately. And there's two doctors that we know of. There's this one doctor down the street. He's a pediatrician, but he's really interested in being a cardiovascular surgeon. He's never done it before, but he's interested, and he could be really good. And he's a doctor. Would you be interested? And by the way, he'll give you a discount. He'll charge you basically nothing to do it. Would you do it? No, my life depends on this. Now, conversely, you go to the other doctor. She's done 100 operations already this year of the exact nature of yours. She's done over 1,000 in a lifetime. She's a 99.9% success rate. She can anticipate problems before they even present themselves. Oh, by the way, she charges $500,000. You can go with. Well, of course, the doctor that's versed in this, because it is a life-saving situation. What we have to realize is that a portion, and usually the best customers, see your architectural services as life-saving or life-altering, at least, that they're going to get their dream, or they're going to get what they envision the right way, the one way. And they're going to disregard the generics. I think the mistake that many businesses make is say, well, I can do that. I can try that out. And you're watering down your perceived quality of service, which means then you'll actually attract a very low-level customer. Customer says, well, I just need an architect, and I see all architects as the same. If a customer sees all architects as the same, you're already in trouble. But if you can distinguish yourself as that life-saving or life-altering provider, and it happens through marketing, because remember this, the only impression anyone has of your business until they do any business with you is your marketing. The first impression is your marketing. So it better be superior, it better speak to your unique offering and to that unique customer you're trying to serve. And they'll pay a premium for that.
So what you're talking about now, and if we tie this back to the recession projection, I guess, this is where I see a lot of people get really nervous. Like, I don't want to specialize in something. I've worked with people in the past that have prided themselves. I'm going to quote this and not attribute it, but we pride ourselves in being architectural generalists.
Yeah.
And then when there are predictions, that's a better word, predictions that we're headed towards a recession. Oh, I can't afford to specialize or niche down. I might miss out. But what you're talking about is sort of the opposite of that.
It's the reverse, because there's also a generalist consumer, what's called the commodity consumer. And in a recession, the commodity consumer, just as all of us see less dollars circulating, we have less in our purse, but becomes more critical of it. And if they see the offering they're purchasing as a commodity, it's in their best interest to keep what's called downward price pressure applied, to say, hey, can you sharpen the pencil? I'm bidding this out, and you're not as good as the other offer. Can you cut the price a little bit? So if you're a generalist, you attract the general audience who will generally push you down, particularly in a recession. The specialist, which is interesting, is when it comes to life-altering or life-saving, if I have a heart attack in a recession, I'll find $500,000. I don't know if I got by hook or crook, but I'll find a way to raise that money because my life depends on it. Some consumers, and I think it's the same volume of consumers, still see during a recession that the service they need are life altering. It's absolutely mandatory. And that's the one thing they're not going to compromise on. We all make those choices of where we're not going to compromise our life. Some people have passion for their vehicles and say, listen, things are tight and I won't go to restaurants anymore, but I'm still going to drive my 7 Series or whatever. Like that's critical to them. And there's a portion of consumers who see architectural design, their commercial space, their personal space as everything to them, and they're going to still pay a premium. So, and the specialists will attract them. So I invite you actually to double down on pursuing this. But I do want to share one additional thing, because the other pushback I get is, well, what if that community goes away? Like, what if basketball players that are, centers that are 7'7" or taller all of a sudden go away? And the reality is, industries or opportunities do go away, but I've studied every industry or opportunity that's gone away in history, all the significant ones, and they've all gone through fades, through different speeds. So the analog dial telephone went away, but it was about 20-year attrition when the push buttons came and they were transitioning. There were strong indicators that it was time to change. And that got replaced now by mobile phones. And it's very hard to find anyone with a phone, a home phone, POTS line at their house, but still some exist. So there's often trends. I was looking at the advent of the vehicle, the car, over the horse and buggy. And that was about a 25-year transition. People were still riding horse and buggy, and some people had automobiles. So we see these transitions happen, but I can't think of one instance where it's literally overnight. When you see an indication and you see the metrics showing that the community you're targeting is fading, that is your opportunity to introduce something new. But I wouldn't be fearful that you're going to lose all this business overnight. I see an instance of it really happening.
James Polk asked, how do you break into a new market?
Oh, I'll give you the shortcut, James.
If you're dealing with point guards, but you want to start designing for centers.
Yeah, right. And now you have this new hybrid of center point guards, right? These guys are 7'7". They can shoot from the 3. It's unbelievable. Yeah. So what you do is the easiest and fastest way into a niche community and to learn how to market to them is to look at your existing client base, identify the clients that A, you like working with the most, B, pay you the most. And let me tell you, let's start with B. Ultimately, people show their perceived value in you not through their words, but through their wallets. So I was saying, trust wallets, not words. People will say, "Oh, you're amazing. Your architectural services were, off the hook. I love it." And then you go on and Yelp, you got a 3-star from them. Could have been a little nicer or something. It's like, what? But the customer that comes back to you recurringly and keeps paying you is demonstrating through their action they see value in you. But this needs to intersect with that you enjoy working with them. Because if you like working with that customer, chances are you have good rapport. Chances are you naturally prioritize the services to them. When my caller ID pops up and it's James Polk, I'm like, hey, it's James. It's someone else I don't like or don't know. I'm like, I'll call them back later. I'll let that one go to voicemail. So we deprioritize. Well, those customers pay you the most and you like the most are the ones that perhaps we want to clone. Now, I do want to share that one data set of one is not indicative of the entire community. So one point guard or center who's a wonderful person and great to do business with doesn't mean all centers are great people and great to do business with, but they are a gateway into the community. So once you identify this best customer or a few of them, sit down with them, meet with them and say, hey, tell me about you. I want to know where you learn, where you congregate with other folks. What do you do to enhance your life? Not just around architecture, but do you have a home designer? Do you have real estate agents you work with? And maybe there's a broader community. Just get a sense for their life. Now, here's the key. Don't do this with the intent of finding other customers. That's the residual benefit you're going to gain. Do it with the intent of better serving that customer. Because if I go to a customer and say, hey, who else do you know? And how can I spread my wings a little bit? That triggers dilution for that customer. They had your undivided attention. Now they're only going to get a part of it because you're looking elsewhere. So instead, learn from that customer and how you can serve that customer better. Learn about how they learn and how they gain knowledge and how they hang out with people with them so you can understand the community. That's step one. Step two is start going to that community. Like if your best customer is we're leaning into basketball players now, this center, where they hang out? Oh, basketball camps, training camps. Maybe they go to a special clothing fitters, for their unique sizes. Those relationships. Say that clothier that serves people that are tall, that clothier may have a lot of your prospects there. And that's actually your marketing spot now. Now it's like, hey, can we build a relationship here? Or could I leave a sign in your retail store that says, looking for a home that fits your size? That's what we do. It will serve you far better than just putting another listing like every other architect somewhere out there and hoping the basketball player finds you. So go to their congregation points.
Let's run with that for a minute. One of the maybe the cornerstone of Get Different is the DAD system, the DAD system. So if you take that, right, we've got this 7'6" and above or 7'7" and above basketball center. Sorry, everybody out there, we're going to talk about baseball next.
Right.
But if you take that as the ideal client, maybe the new ideal client, and now you've gone to the clothier. I love the idea. So how do we start to go down that path and apply the DAD
framework
system, the DAD framework in that environment?
Yeah, so the DAD framework is basically a checklist of 3 critical elements. So I'll outline what that is. And what my argument is you need to check off each item to optimize your marketing. It doesn't guarantee it's going to work. We're going to do experiments to test. But if you miss even one element, your marketing is crippled at best. And in most cases, no one knows what the DAD framework is, or very few people do. So they say, well, this looks good. This is what everyone else is doing. And then they're disappointed when yet more Facebook ads didn't yield any return. It's because they're not applying DAD. Oh, and by the way, Jeff, I feel compelled. As a result of writing this book and making the framework this acronym DAD, I've heard every dad joke on the planet. I got to tell you, the worst, aka the best dad joke, because I've heard over I think over 600 now. Here it is. When does a good joke become a dad joke? When it becomes apparent.
Oh gosh. we need sound effects.
Sound effects. Yeah, that's the worst / best dad joke. So here's what DAD is. First of all, does it differentiate from the market? And the reason this is important is the human mind is designed to ignore 99.999, it continues on, of stimuli. In fact, as we're talking right now, for the individuals paying attention, the only way you can pay attention is actually by ignoring all the things around you. I got a little marker here, a highlighter in front of me. I could spend hours investigating this. Why is the word highlighter made, and who made words, and why is this yellow, and it can go on and on. But for me to provide focus, and it's a survival mechanism, I have to ignore that stimuli along with all the others. The thing that does that is called the reticular formation. It's a neural network that sits on our top of our brainstem. It's a literal and figurative net. And when a stimuli comes through to it, it says ignore it unless it was one of 3 qualifiers. It's a threat, someone's going to harm me, hits what's called the amygdala, our hyper response mechanism of our brain, so we go into fight or flight mode. Then opportunities, known opportunities. I've seen this before and it'll serve me. It goes to the prefrontal cortex, conscious thought, and we say, how do we consume this safely? And the last thing is different. When something unexpected presents itself, our mind, the whole mind illuminates, hits the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex, and the mind says, hold on, I've never seen this before. What is this? Because this may be a new threat or a new opportunity or something I can ignore in the future. It is the only way that the human mind is mandated to engage. So if you do something different, the consumer can't stop themselves from paying attention. And you've done this, you've seen this before. You walk down the street, you're walking, all of a sudden you do that. What was that? Your head is pulled almost automatically because you're seeing something you didn't expect. And in these milliseconds, you're looking at it and saying, oh, not relevant. It wasn't what I thought. Or, oh my gosh, that's crazy. Or what is that? That's for me. So do different and it garners attention. The simplest way to get to different is look at what the standard approach is that your contemporaries, your competition are using to market to your customers. And that's the exact things you shouldn't be doing because they've become habituated to it. They're used to it and know it's ignorable. That's D, different. The A stands for attract. When you get someone's attention, I call it the blink test. You have about 1/10 of a second of engagement, that double look. In the mind, it's a supercomputer. It's now saying, is this of service to me? Is this attractive? Is it a new opportunity? The only way you can show them is by speaking their language, which means speak to a problem they have, speak to a need they have, entertain them or educate them. But they have to be saying, this is for me. So that 7'7" dude, you want first going, double taking and saying, we make furniture to support, tall people. That is going to say it's for me. It's also exclusionary to everybody else, but it has to happen in these milliseconds, like a billboard. The last element then is D for direct. Direct is, what does this person do next? And sadly, this is probably the most overlooked part of marketing. Get noticed, hopefully. People say, oh, I want this, or this is compelling or interesting to me, but then they don't know what to do with it. Often it's this obtuse direction, like, oh, if you're interested, we can do business together. I see this on websites all the time. I land on a website and it says, learn more. The whole freaking reason we have websites is to learn more. Don't make me learn more. It's a circuitous pattern. I'm here to learn more. I don't need to learn more. Tell me what to do. You want a specific, reasonable, and safe option. So the option may be schedule a half-hour consultative call, or maybe give us your email and we can give you a tip of 10 mistakes people make when they consider an architect or something. There's got to be some exchange. But in a scenario like that, where I give something of value, the 10 mistakes, I also have now permission to communicate with you. My job is to matriculate that to a transaction. That's reasonable and safe. And what we have to do is find the balance. We want to move them as quickly and as efficiently as possible, but we want them feeling safe throughout. The other mistake I see is people in the direct, they go too big, too fast. They say, hey, thanks for visiting our website. Give us a $5,000 deposit and we can be your firm. I don't know anything about you, and that will dissuade people. So be different, be attractive, speak to the need, interest. You want the prospect saying, this is for me. And the final thing is make sure you give them a singular direction that they feel reasonable, it feels reasonable and safe doing immediately.
So we've got this basketball center. He's at the clothier. We've got the sign, the architecture, a house that fits you or furniture that fits you. That's definitely different. I don't see, of course, I am also not 7'6", so I'm not going to that clothier. So maybe I don't know, but I doubt that many architects are doing that at the tailor.
But let's say, so just playing out the scenario, let's say it's happening. I'm just going to riff now. First thing you want to do is, if you can, interview the prospect and say, hey, what are common problems you have? I assume the kitchen basin, the sink, is at a level for people who are between 5 feet and 6 feet. So if you're 4 feet tall, it's probably not that practical. And if you're 7 or approaching 8 feet tall, it's probably not practical. So assuming it's the 7'7" person, maybe we got to figure out that the sink basin is right above their kneecaps as opposed to near their waistline. So maybe put a pair of pants in the window with like water stains at the kneecaps and say, if you can relate to this and your sink splashes your knees, you have a poorly designed home. We fix that. You want something when they come in, they go, what? Yeah. So first of all, it's different. How many people have water stained pants in the window? Secondly, they go, that's for me, right? Because it's speaking to their problem. Everyone else will be like, what the hell we're talking about? But the right person says, oh yeah, the sinks are way too low. And then the direction should be, schedule an appointment or give us your email so we can give you the 10 things that tall people need for a properly designed home, something like that. That's just one idea.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a great idea. And for everybody out there in the audience that hasn't yet, I would encourage you to read or listen to Get Different, because there, as you go through, there's this continual, they're examples, right? They're case studies of people that you've worked with and that but there's some great ideas. As I was listening to it, I thought, you know what, you could apply that in architecture.
Oh yeah, you can translate them all.
Something,
I was, I'll give you a couple of rapid examples because maybe it'll trigger someone's ideas here.
Yeah.
As a speaker, I noticed that most people market as an author and speaker, market the same way. They send out email blasts, particularly when it comes to books. I write a new book, I email my community, my contemporaries do the same. And therefore, that means the consumer is becoming habituated to emails saying, buy my book. Everyone's used to that. Chances are you're used to being overwhelmed by email. And here's an example of habituation. If you've ever received an email that starts off with, hey, friend, I strongly suspect you delete that or throw it in your spam box, because that's what habituation does. I remember the first time I got a hey, friend email, I was like, oh my God, I have a friend who's so friendly, Jeff. They don't even call me by my first name. Which friend is this? And I saw it was smarmy marketing. I'm like, I've never read one again. So different works, but it's a very short shelf life when other people replicate it. So that's why that's habituation. We ignore it. So I noticed everyone's saying out email blasts. I'm like, okay, that's what's being ignored. And I said, what can I do that's the opposite? This is one technique. So I looked at it and I said, well, it's white. It's a white background with black text. I said the opposite of black text would be white text, but a white text on a white background is invisible. That makes no sense. And I was like, oh my God, that's invisible. I can send out the first ever invisible ink email. That's what I did. With the launch of Get Different, I said in the headline in black text, said, this is the first ever invisible ink email. And there was one black line that said, click and drag your mouse below to reveal the message. And because it was white text, you drag over, it turns blue, you can read the message. And it said, you're reading this right now because it was different and unexpected. And that will work for your marketing too. I invite you to check out my book and buy it right now. It was the best open rate and the best conversion rate I've ever had in an email because it's different. I'll give you one more example. My own little town here, I'm in Boonton, New Jersey. That's a shout out to Cranford, Taylor ham, egg, and cheese country, the best part of New Jersey. I was walking down Boonton Main Street, and there are 3, maybe it's now 4 fitness studios next to each other. They're former retail stores, but they're fitness studios, like these boutique shops where you come in, you lift weights and do stuff. Every single one of them had the same marketing, the before and after pictures in their window. Here's, schlubby and unfit to jacked up and ripped client. And this is what we did for them. And all these men and women, we transformed their bodies. And I noticed no one, including myself, looks at me. You kind of just walk by, you're like, okay, because we've all seen the before and afters. You're never gonna have someone that goes from unfit to even more unfit. Come join us. We know what's coming. So I said, that's the worst thing to do. So I came up with a concept. And here's what was interesting. I went to these stores because they're right here. I said, I can help you transform your marketing. I'm writing a book about this. Every single one rejected me. And I wasn't surprised. We are terrified to do different. And there's a whole reason behind it. It goes back to the cave dweller days. We're terrified to do different. And that's why it's such an advantage. If you're willing, if you're bold enough to do different, no one else will be bold enough to replicate it. Geek Squad was a computer company that would work these crazy uniforms. They're $1 billion valuation now with Best Buy because they dressed like geeks. And yet it's so obvious why they got attention, yet not another computer company in the world that I know of has replicated that. It's such an easy score, but it's scary. Hey Friend was replicated because it was so easy. Just instead of putting Hey Friend is a lazy way and Hey Jeff, just put Hey Friend because it's a lazy way out. So that's why it got replicated. So what I did with these gyms, since they all rejected me, I found one in Salt Lake City, it was a CrossFit gym. And I said, hey, do you want to do this? And they took me up on it. We got mirrors. This is another technique. Take ideas from another industry. I noticed when I went to the carnival and stuff with my kids that the fun house has like those goofy mirrors that make you look like ET and stuff. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't stop taking pictures of myself in these mirrors. So I look so ridiculous. And everyone else was doing the same. So we got 2 mirrors, one that made you look squat and kind of bloated and stuff. And we put that mirror in the store window and we put the word before over it. We got another mirror that kind of stretched you out and made you look kind of ripped up, and we put after. And so now you had in these mirrors before and after, and people are walking by this studio in Salt Lake City and stopping, seeing themselves. It's different. How many times have you seen mirrors in a fitness studio? It morphs you because it's like a fun house. It's funny, which is attractive. You're taking pictures of yourself. We love to see ourselves. And then there was a direct. The direct said, we just transformed you in mirrors. Now let's do it in real life. Walk in. They had a 4 times increase in foot traffic and probably still do. They've sustained it and no one else is replicating it. So there's some ideas of breaking the norm of your industry.
I love that. I love this funhouse mirror ideas. It's fun.
Yeah.
I can see a crowd gathering there. I want to try it. I want to try it. Michelle has a question. It's how do I make people aware of my work? And I think, different than the fitness studio, right? Because that's where everything is happening. And whether it's the mirrors or the before and after or whatever, we see what's going on. But an architect, a lot of times, you design something, it was built 3 years ago, and now who knows who designed that? So in a case like that, is there a way to help people stay aware or get aware of what you do?
There absolutely is. And what we have to start with, Michelle, is the who. So people is a very generic term. And I think the trap that you may fall into is anyone is a prospect. And that means really no one is a prospect because you're not speaking to their needs. That's the attractor, the A factor. If you're not speaking to my needs, you're not speaking to me. So we have to pick who are the people we want to go after first. Once you know those people, second thing is, what's the congregation points? Remember that saying, birds of a feather flock together? It exists because it's true. If say an author was a good prospect for you, many authors have libraries. I want to put a library in my house. And so maybe I'm a good fit, right? But I, as an author, see myself as very unique and my needs being unique. If you identify authors as potentially a good prospect, then what you do is you say, well, where do authors congregate? Well, there's Facebook groups. We have our own private Write and Rant is a very famous one, which you may not even know exists because you don't know our community. And there's certain author conferences where all authors go and communities, and we talk to each other. And we don't talk just about how do you write a better book? How do you market it? We do. But we talk about other things too, like, hey, man, tell me how life's treating you. You wouldn't believe what I did with my house. And you start spreading there. But also, then you could start advertising to us. You can start building a list. You can start marketing to us. And you can start speaking to the needs that are unique to authors, looking for that magnificent library or whatever it is, and start speaking to us. So the starting point, and I'm not trying to beat a dead horse here, but the starting point is to talk about a community first. And trying to market to everyone means you have to come up with a million different marketing messages to really engage them. But trying to market to one type of person is better. And there's been study after study about this, about niche specialization. I think there's points of confusion. Niche specialization does not mean niche exclusivity. So I'm not saying serve authors and disregard everyone else. I'm saying serve authors and market to them. And as other opportunities bubble up because humans know humans, still take them if it's a good opportunity. But just specialize in how you message to one community and then expand out. And inevitably, businesses that focus on a narrow community start getting traction because they become specialists, and then they can broaden out later. I think the mistake and what keeps businesses so small is we try to get any business because we feel any business is good business, but we're never able to get that message that really resonates with the best buyers in any special community.
I think that's really great advice. And, when we're thinking about being different, and when you're talking about a library for authors, maybe your business card needs to be a library card. I don't know, but
oh my God, I love it already. Right, the old Dewey Decimal System.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that works. Stuff like that works. I was talking with these photographers, and I said, "What's the common approach to marketing?" And they said the most cutting edge thing that very few people do that really is a game changer is mailers of postcards. And I'm like, are you effing kidding me? I get them all the time. And Jeff, you got them too, where it's a postcard and it's like this cheesy picture of a family and they're like, it's portrait season, come in for your portraits. So I said, what's the opposite of that? Where do the best pictures go? And they said, well, if you make a best picture, it goes into a frame. I said, then let's not mail out postcards of pictures. Let's mail out empty frames. And some of these photographers did the test with me. They sent out an empty frame. And inside the frame, there was simply a saying. And you've probably never received an empty frame, so that'll be engaging. You get a piece of the mail, an empty frame. What the heck is this? I didn't order this. So you're compelled, curiosity, to read it. The attractor factor was this. It said, most pictures go into the cloud, but the ones we love go into frames. We create the pictures you will love. Powerful, right? That's the attractor factor. It clicks with the right audience. And then the direct was book an appointment with our studio. And there was 3 or 4 photographers that did that. They all had a bump in opportunity coming their way. So that library card, wickedly smart, because I've never seen that before. And it's worthy of an experiment. It's worthy of a test.
Yeah, I love that. And so just to let you know, we've got about 3 minutes before you need to bounce. So
yeah. I just noticed Mark LePage, by the way, is a at-home library specialist who focuses on entrepreneur authors and Boone. Wow, John Jones, thank you. I found my guy.
That's following up on Mark's. I know a good architect who can help with the library. So
that's great.
Hey, welcome to the marketing hour, everybody. Mike has to bounce here in just a couple of minutes because he's got another call coming up. So when Mike has to step away, hang on, stick around with us for a few minutes, and we'll wrap it up after he has to go. But we're going to be watching the time for him. Maybe There's so much. There's so much more in this book that we could definitely cover. But maybe to follow up and to continue that train of thought about being different, Michelle also asked a question: when it comes to being different, how far is too far?
That's a great question. When it's no longer authentic to who you are. So get different doesn't mean be different. And there's a subtle difference, but get different means to actually amplify your idiosyncrasies and uniquenesses, but be absolutely genuine and true to yourself. Being different means being someone you're not. And people can see through that. That was one of the risks I ran when I wrote Get Different. People are like, oh, you mean be outrageous, be goof. I lean into silliness, and that's naturally who I am. And so the ultimate compliment is when someone sees your marketing and then they experience your business and say, that's exactly what I wanted. So I had an accountant I was working with who's extremely serious. She has a flat affect, but she loves the numbers. And she was having trouble converting clients because clients would call and like, you don't even really care about my business. You're just so blah. So we did one little change. We said, let's call you Spock, because that was her favorite. That was her superhero. She's like, Spock's so logical. It's all about logic. So when she started call, she'd say, listen, before we have a conversation, I will be so engaged in your numbers, engrossed in your numbers. I have a flat affect. A lot of people call me, it was a woman, so a lot of people call me Mrs. Spock. Is that okay? And then people are like, yeah, that's what I'm looking for. And then she didn't have to change a thing about herself. And that's the whole goal here. She amplified, she doubled down on who she naturally was, and the conversions improved significantly for her. That's what we're looking to do.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. Amplify.
Hey, fantastic. Hey, John Jones had a question for you, Mike, just slipping it in real quick. He wants to know if there is a Central Jersey.
There is. It's south of Route 78, in my opinion. But so there's North Jersey, Central Jersey, and South Jersey, and the continent will always be divided, if you will. And what divides us is the ham we get on our sandwiches. So in North Jersey, we have what's called Taylor ham, and in South Jersey, they call it pork roll, and they have no idea what they're talking about down there. It's going to be a constant battle between North and South, and Central's stuck in the middle. They just, no one likes them, to be honest. So that's the reality.
I love that, Mandy. I'm glad that you caught that one, because that's awesome. That has been a running joke inside of. We've been doing context and clarity for going on 2.5 years now, believe it or not, 500 and some odd episodes now, and that the is there a Central Jersey has been a running thread and joke for 2.5 years. So thank you for those of us who are not in New Jersey and have no idea what all of you people are joking about and ribbing each other about. I really appreciate that explanation.
I like Mark Page says Taylor Ham rules. So I know he's from Northern Jersey. He's probably off the Parkway. That's where the vein of Taylor Ham. I assume he's around exit 135 off the Parkway. Just guessing, because that's where the Taylor Ham country really gets pretty heated.
He says Paramus, born and raised.
Yeah, in Paramus. Yeah. Oh my God, that's even worse. Yeah.
I love that. Well, Mike, thank you. Thanks for
it's been a joy. Jeff, thank you. Mandy, thank you so much. I'm wishing everyone tremendous success. If I can just leave one departing thought is
absolutely
the world is starving for small business success. I think this is the pinnacle moment as we go into this recession. We have an opportunity to step up. And for the longest time, I've been saying small business is the backbone of the economy. I've been using that refrain, and I now regret it because it's not true. Small business is not the backbone of the economy. Small business is the economy. The global society, the global economy is depending on you. So please get out there and kick ass for serving all of us.
That's awesome. Mike, thank you. Really appreciate it all the time.
You're welcome.
You are welcome back here anytime when your next book comes out, or we're going to be talking to Erin. We're going to be talking to her.
I am in.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Thank you. All right, everybody else out there, we've got a few more minutes yet. I saw Jake's comment a minute ago. I've got to click back over here. He said, "Hey, wait, it's already been an hour." It went super fast. I realized about 43 minutes in, it's like, oh my gosh, we haven't touched on like half of the book. So what I hope that all of you will do, it's not a super long read. Again, I don't read, I listen. So on Audible, it's only like 4.5 hours long, which is not a very long book. So um, if you say to yourself, or maybe you say it out loud, I don't like to market, I don't know how to market, I don't have a marketing budget, any of those um, objections to marketing, please get this book and go through it. I said this morning on Clubhouse. I think if you read or listen to the book, I think it presents a great opportunity to you, because everything that he's talking about, you heard him say while we were talking to him just a few minutes ago. Mike said, even if you have no dollars, right? Read this book. It's about the creative juices. It's about using that creativity that you all have. So check the book out. It's I think it'll really maybe help you think differently about the way that you market, the way that you talk about what you do, about people that are 7 feet 7 inches tall. I don't know. I see Mark says it's a super easy read, very much worth the time. What else? What else? Did we have any questions or comments that we didn't get to that we might be able to address here?
There was a comment that was repeated from this morning about marketing in another geographic area, or if you were new to town and marketing. And I don't know if we were hoping for Mike's answer on that, but I felt like he touched on that a little bit in marketing to new potential markets for us.
Yeah. Well, I think, I've been saying this all week. So for any of you that have been joining us, or maybe missed our Context and Clarity live conversation, or our Context and Clarity conversations this week, what I've been trying to do with the topics is tie last week's Context and Clarity Live with Kevin Costello to this week with Mike Michalowicz, because they were both marketing topics. And there are so many similarities between what Kevin is doing and what Mike is talking about. Kevin is a firm owner, about 7 people in their firm out in Arizona. And so everything that he talked about was basically earned experience. It's the things that they're doing, what's working, what's not working, how they're succeeding. And of course, Mike is a great thinker and author and consultant. And in both cases, it starts with understanding who you're marketing to. So I guess in that instance, where is this new area? It's a place you just moved to, or a place that you'd like to reach out to, and what's driving those clients in that place. We did, I guess, talk about it a little bit in hey, well, now we're going to start marketing to a 7 foot 7 inch human being, basketball center, and we haven't done that before. I guess we're just replacing a geography with a human in that case, but it comes down to the humans, right?
One thing that worked for a firm that I worked at before in expanding to different geographies, we ended up going to 5 different states, were to get the clients that wanted to grow geographically.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So you get in and you start projects in new areas because the client wants to be there. And then when you're there, you spread from there.
Yeah. Now, on the flip side of that, I'll give you an example of a firm that I was talking to a couple of years ago. Well, a few years ago, probably now, pre-COVID. And we were having this conversation about repeat clients and referrals. How much marketing are you doing, and how much is coming to you? Maybe is a different way to think about that. And a lot of you have heard me say before that every firm out there is a large percentage of their work comes from repeats and referral and or referrals. And I hear everything from about 60% to as high as 97%. Well, this is the 97% example. They said, hey, 97% of our work comes from repeats and or referrals, because we're the I'm not going to give away too much about their location and so on and so forth, but we're seen as the experts in this type of project in this state, and 97% of our work is walking in the door to us. I said, okay, well, what's the problem? And so, well, we don't really have a problem. Maybe the problem is that we haven't been exercising the muscle. So, okay, well, what are your plans for expanding? Oh, well, we're going to this other state, expanding to a new state. So, okay, well, how are you going to do that? Oh, we're not worried about that because it's repeats and referrals. Let me raise my hand for a minute. Right? You've been doing this for like 30 years in this state, and the work's walking in the door because you're the expert on that type of project in that state. It's repeats and referrals. Unless those people are also in that other state, you've got a problem, right? So then, is it getting people here to refer you to people over there? What are you going to do, right? You can rest on your laurels here, perhaps where you are, but you've got to do something different over here, even to get yourself on the radar, because there's somebody else in that state saying the same thing, right? Their version of that same thing. So I like what you're talking about, Mandy, that experience of going with the clients. The danger is assuming that, which is a different situation than what you're talking about. The danger is assuming, hey, just because we're doing this here, maybe it applies to New Jersey. You're doing this in South Jersey. Is it going to work in North Jersey? Again, I don't know New Jersey. It might not. There's apparently that dividing line is pretty strong. Mark says that Mike narrates his books and makes them unique for the print version from the print version. Absolutely. They're fun books to listen to because he's narrating them, and you get all of his personality. He goes off script a lot. You get asides and you get a story. Although he said this is in the print book too, but you get a story about how Santa was killed in the study with the beard straightener. There's a reason alone to read the book. Also, he mentions Jesse Cole. Actually, there's a whole chapter about Jesse Cole and the Savannah Bananas, past Context and Clarity Live guests. So read the book. Listen to the book. It's a good one. Mark says he's got a roll. We passed the top of the hour. He's got a roll. And we're all cheering for Henry LePage this week. He's at Nationals, rowing in Nationals down in Sarasota, Florida. So go Henry. Hopefully he comes home with the gold there.
Yeah, good luck, Henry. And Mark, thanks for thanking me for being the co-host today. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris says content-based networking strategy is a good way to break into new geographic areas. It is. We have had a number of guests here on Context and Clarity Live that have strategies. Somebody was asking. Oh, it was somebody on Clubhouse this morning, and I apologize, I forget who it was, but was asking about your ideal client. Go check out Book Yourself Solid. That's another great book. We talked about that 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago. Time's flying, but there are great exercises for identifying and digging into who your ideal client is in Book Yourself Solid. So just go over to the Entree Architect YouTube channel, find the playlist for Context and Clarity Live, and scroll through some of these marketing topics. There's people come on here, people like Mike come on here and share a lot of knowledge. So there's lots out there. Giving you a little bit of preview. I know we're past the top of the hour, but next week, Context and Clarity Live, so a week from today, Thursday, June 16th, we will have Brad Levitt as our Context and Clarity Live guest. Brad is a very high-end builder, contractor in Arizona, works exclusively with architects. And so next week, we're going to talk about the architect builder relationship. I thought that would be a really interesting spin on something that you guys deal with probably day in and day out. So Brad's a fantastic guy. He's got a great podcast as well. It's the AFT podcast. I've been a guest. That's not why it's a great podcast. I've been a guest on his podcast. He interviews architects on his podcast and builders and others. You should check that out. But it's AFT, a finer touch construction and a finer touch podcast, I think. So Brad will be our guest next Thursday. All right. We're going to wrap up the week of Context and Clarity Conversations tomorrow, starting at 9 a.m. on Clubhouse tomorrow morning, and then tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern inside the Entre Architect Community Facebook group with the same question. What do you do for your clients that's different? Ties pretty well with this conversation today, I think. So be thinking about that. Join us tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Eastern on Clubhouse, or 4 p.m. Eastern inside the Entre Architect Community Facebook group, and we will have that conversation. Mandy, thank you for being the co-host today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's great having you here. Katharine, hopefully everything is going well today. You're just going to have to ask her. She's probably going to have some exciting news to share, so that's very cool. And we will do this all over again tomorrow, everybody. So until then, please take a little bit of time to breathe and relax. Find a little bit of time, some way to get rejuvenated. It's a long road. This is the long play. We do this every day. So find some way to take care of yourself. Be well, stay safe, keep those around you safe and well. And I'll look forward to seeing you all somewhere sometime soon. Thanks, everybody.